Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a fascinating, kind of hidden divide right out there on our local roads. On one side, we've got this massive, highly bureaucratic system. We're talking rules, red tape, literally millions of dollars in government oversights. And on the other side? Well, it's basically a digital street fight for survival, ruled by search engines and super clever marketing. So let's unpack these two surprisingly complex and wildly different worlds of the towing industry.
Okay, to really get a feel for this, I want you to picture something. You're driving down a busy stretch, let's say Settlement Road in Belmont. Suddenly, bam, you hear a loud pop, flat tire. Or maybe your engine just completely gives out. You manage to pull over to the shoulder. Now you're stressed, traffic is absolutely flying past you, you feel super vulnerable, and of course you pull out your smartphone. So who's actually coming to save you? What invisible forces are deciding which specific truck is going to show up in your rearview mirror? Well, the answer depends entirely on what kind of trouble you're actually in.
Part 1. The Government Towing Rulebook. Victoria's Strict Regulations. Right off the bat, looking at Victoria's 2019 Accident Towing Services Regulations, you can see just how dense, official, and totally serious this oversight is. See, the state government tightly regulates accident towing for a very specific, practical reason. Motorists who've just been in a crash are, understandably, traumatized. They're vulnerable. They definitely haven't had time to sit there and comparison shop for towing services, right? So the government steps in. They lay down these incredibly strict rules covering everything from tow truck licenses to specific accident allocation rosters, all just to protect those consumers. And to manage all that roadside chaos, Victoria literally chops the map up into distinct geographic zones. You've got the Melbourne-controlled area and the self-management area of Geelong. Now, in both of these spots, if you crash, you don't just call up some random tow truck. Instead, a centralized allocation center formally dispatches a truck directly to you. It's a very orderly queue. But if you happen to crash outside those zones, out in the unregulated regional area, there's no formal center at all. It's a completely different rulebook based purely on geography. Moving on to Section 2. Tracking, tows, and traffic, the multi-billion-dollar problem. $4.6 billion. Let that sink in for a second. That is the staggering annual cost of traffic congestion for Melbourne alone, according to research from the Bureau of Infrastructure, Transport, and Regional Economics. And get this, they attribute a full 25% of those congestion costs directly to accidents. So getting those smashed up cars out of the way quickly, it isn't just a nice courtesy for the driver. It is a massive, multi-billion-dollar priority for the state. Literally, every single minute a lane is blocked, the state bleeds money. Which brings us to a really fascinating piece of internal analysis. To get traffic moving again, the government actually demands that a dispatched tow truck arrive at an accident scene within exactly 30 minutes of getting the job. And to enforce that strict deadline, they've been debating at the highest levels whether to make GPS tracking devices mandatory in the trucks. This would let the allocation center pinpoint the exact location of every truck and electronically log exactly when they depart and arrive. Now, modernizing this dispatch system with GPS isn't just about, Big Brother watching your every move. It's all about efficiency. Fast GPS notification directly means quicker clearance of those accident scenes. Plus, it lets the department keep a close eye on driver compliance with that 30-minute rule. And the payoff? Estimated savings of up to $38 million a year just from cutting down on all that traffic congestion. So you can really clearly see the logical flow of the government's policy here. Strict rules, precise tracking, massive economic savings. So here's the crucial point. All of this incredible oversight, the centralized dispatch, the price controls, the proposed GPS tracking, it all strictly applies to accident towing. But there is a massive loophole right there in the regulations. Trade towing, which is the industry term for non-accident towing, like when you just break down with a flat tire or a dead battery, is completely outside the scope of the act. It is entirely unregulated, zero oversight. Which brings us to Part 3, the digital turf war, trade towing in the wild west of SEO. So remember that hypothetical flat tire in Belmont we talked about earlier? When you're stuck on the side of the road with a breakdown, you aren't calling some official government dispatch center. No, you're frantically searching Google on your phone, and almost immediately, you're hit with these aggressive, keyword-heavy sales pitches. Like this actual quote from a local operator. "We pride ourselves on being the best, most reliable car towing service for all of Geelong." I mean, it sounds incredibly professional, massive, and exactly what you want to hear, doesn't it? Well, in this completely unregulated space, survival is all about SEO, search engine optimization.
These companies absolutely flood directories like local search to look like massive sprawling operations. They stuff their website copy with the names of every single local road, Settlement Road, Roslyn Road, High Street, just to make sure they catch your specific Google search. They loudly advertise 24/7 availability. One of their own blogs even claims a truck might be just 5 minutes away in Belmont, just to keep you hooked. But then, if you read deeper into that exact same blog post, they casually admit the average wait time is actually an hour. So yeah, that slick digital promise rarely matches the gritty roadside reality. And sometimes, that shiny digital facade just completely shatters. 404, oops, sorry, page not found. Now, this isn't a glitch in our explainer. This is what actually pops up when you try to click on the flat tire assistance page for a really heavily marketed local service called Elite 24/7 Towing. They use this high-end web design to promise the world, projecting the image of some huge roadside assistance network. But when you're desperate and you actually click through to their service pages, boom, broken links and error codes. It's basically a digital illusion designed to capture your search traffic, not necessarily to provide real immediate infrastructure. Let's move to Section 4 and see how this builds. Behind the towing business, the reality of corporate fleets.
If we do a little bit of digging into the publicly available Australian Business Register, we uncover a truly wild history. Looking at the timeline for the ABN tied to Elite 24/7 Towing, we see active registration kicking off back in 2016. But get this. In 2017, this exact same business entity was operating under the frankly incredible name Hello Success Innovation Hub. It wasn't until late 2020 that this so-called innovation hub pivoted and registered the name Elite 24/7 Towing Geelong. I mean, come on, that is a massive jump, right? From an innovation hub to a 24-hour emergency towing fleet? And this brilliantly illustrates the ultimate reality of the unregulated breakdown industry. Even though the website is out there promising a massive fleet, state-of-the-art tools, and this elite corporate service, the ABN lookup tells a completely different story. The business is registered to just one individual, a sole trader. On top of that, they aren't even currently registered for GST, which legally implies a pretty low annual turnover. And their main business address? It's listed simply as Victoria 3216. That's a standard residential postcode. So that elite 24/7 corporate fleet you're putting all your trust in during a panic, it's often just one person with a truck and a really highly optimized internet marketing strategy. Which leaves us with this final, provocative thought to take away today. If you get into a crash, you have the full weight of the state government, multi-million-dollar congestion budgets, and these tightly controlled allocation centers managing exactly who comes to get you. But if you just get a flat tire, well, you are entirely at the mercy of the digital Wild West, where Hello Success innovation hubs literally transform overnight into your emergency roadside saviors. So the next time you find yourself stranded on the side of the road reaching for your phone, just remember that massive invisible gap between strict government bureaucracy and the hustle of the digital street. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope it helps you see the everyday systems running around us in a totally new light.